Right now on Andrea Mitchell Reports, at any minute in Tucson, we expect to hear from 63-year-old Pam Simon. The part-time Gabrielle Gifford staffer was shot twice in Saturday's shooting and is returning to work today. The prognosis looks good. Gifford's doctors say today that the Congresswoman is opening her eyes more frequently, carrying out more complex activities.
We're very encouraged that she's continuing to make all the right moves in the right direction. Obviously, we're very cautious that she makes them at her own pace, but again, we couldn't have hoped for any better improvement than we're seeing now.
And coming up with us this hour, lead trauma surgeon Dr. Peter Ree. Plus, security is tight as the second of 6 funerals gets underway today. Friends, family, and more than 100 judges from around the country turning out to say goodbye to federal judge John Lowell at the same church where 9-year-old Christina Taylor Greene's funeral was held yesterday. Also this hour, back to business as usual in Washington, and not necessarily a good thing. They're fighting again, and Republicans are trying to repeal health care, but promising to take a more civil tone, while Michael Steele is about to get a pink slip at the RNC.
I want to thank you so much for the chance to serve.
And good day, I'm Andrea Mitchell, live in Washington. It's decision day for the Republican National Committee. Michael Steele is expected to be ousted today as the party picks its next chairman. Voting by secret ballot is already underway and expected to begin any minute. We should note a candidate needs 85 votes to win, and it's expected to take several rounds of voting to get a winner. Here now, 2 former members of Congress, Democrat David Bonnier and Republican Vin Weber. Well, Vin, first to you. It's a Republican battle, and people don't know exactly who's going to come out on top. There are a couple of candidates that seem to be leading contenders, but anytime you've got multiple ballots and people trading votes, it's very hard to predict. But one prediction is Michael Steele will not be the winner.
That's exactly right. There's a consensus that we can't have Steele for another 2 years. The rules of RNC balloting make it hard to predict who will win because, unlike most nominating conventions around the country, the low finisher does not have to drop off. So we're going to have all these candidates in right until the end. So conceivably, a candidate that finishes low on the first ballot could come back later and win. So it's very hard to predict. But Steele has left the committee with a $21 million debt. Furthermore, he was elected partially to be a good spokesman, and he's a good speaker. But now we're entering a presidential election cycle. We're going to have Republican presidential candidates. Don't need a spokesman. And you can see now, join us as watching Pam Simon in her wheelchair is coming out to speak. She's being released from the hospital. She's a community organizer, a volunteer with Gabrielle Gifford. You can see the emotion there as she is about to make her statement. So David Bonnier and Vin Weber, the whole nation has been through this extraordinary catharsis. We saw the president speak. We're about to hear Pam Stevens. Let's watch as she's greeted back at the Gifford's staff office.
So glad to see you. Oh my gosh. Back. Everybody.
Of course, everybody. Hey.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so glad to be here. Oh, so where's Bob?
Where's Bob? Bob is on his way.
He's on his way.
Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Oh,
missing your Starbucks.
I miss my
If you're walking in the office, you need Starbucks.
Everybody.
Chocolate drawer is empty. I know.
I don't know who was there the other night, so I'm going to say it all again because I see a lot of new faces and intern faces. You guys, we're a family. I never realized how much of a family till now. I absolutely am so blessed to, one, be alive, and so incredibly blessed to have my family. Bruce is stuck by me, my daughter, my son, Summer and Fritz. They came from New York and Portland, and they have been, Fritz is my media guy, Summer is my advanced team, and I got to come home from the hospital last night. It was just wonderful, but You guys,
Well,
thank you.
Pam,
Thank
it's
you.
nice to have you back, and on behalf of the office, because I know how important it is to you, this is just a small token of what's going to happen in the future. Dark chocolate, especially for you. This is just the beginning. You have a lifetime supply of chocolate. Anytime you want it, you've got it. I will come and deliver it to your house, assuming it's okay with Bruce.
And I would like it to go, thank you. It needs to go on record that this man has eaten tons and tons of chocolate that I have provided.
63-year-old Pam Simon, the Giffords volunteer who was saved by a good Samaritan who then never came back, shot twice, and has not been able to personally thank the good Samaritan. But you can see how happy they are to have her back. Joining us now, Dr. Peter Ree, the head of the trauma unit that has performed so magnificently and really won the admiration of the nation. Dr. Ree, there was another very positive report, and it's the last briefing. And from talking to other trauma victims and head injury victims, families do need to heal in privacy without this enormous global attention. But what can you tell us about the progress so far and how unusual you think it may be, Gabrielle Giffords' progress?
Gabrielle Giffords' progress is not necessarily unusual. I think we were expecting all of this pathway. We're very fortunate that she's doing the things that she should do and progressing normally without any complications or setbacks. So we're very happy about that. But given the injury that she had and the pathway that she started with, she's on schedule as we had hoped.
What is the timing for when you might be able to take out the breathing tube and test her capacity for speech?
Well, right now I think that we had given her an opportunity for this, and she is really, by all means progressing to a very, very good speed at this time period. The things that she's doing on her own this morning, even overnight, since last night when I went home till this morning, she's made significant progress. She's taking off the ring off of her husband, and that might be an instinctive, reflexive thing that's going on, but she will put it back on when you ask, take it off, put it on herself, take it back off. So they're very complicated types of tasks, whether it's clicking the pen on or off on request. So these are all good things. As far as the breathing tube, I think given the nature of what was going on, what I am going to try to do, because she's going to require additional surgery for oculoplastics types of work, is that I'll probably do a tracheostomy in the future. But as far as her lungs are going on right now, her lungs are doing well, and she could probably breathe well on her own itself. I'm more worried about whether she's going to be able to swallow well and have issues about controlling her airway. But this is a normal course to do these types of events.
What are the intangibles, the other aspects of this kind of injury as recovery progresses, assuming that there is a normal progression of the recovery? What are the things that are the hardest to track, and as a personality is changed or affect or emotional responses to this kind of trauma?
Well, yeah, I mean, the gross things that we're measuring right now, for example, she's following commands, she can hear us, she can respond. But as it gets higher up on that curve, the changes are going to be less dramatic as it has been the first week. And it's going to take, in all sincerity, years. But what we'll do is, I would say, given her recovery that she's had, we will see a lot of things in the next 2 or 3 months. And then the changes will become subtle and less dramatic from that time period, for about a year. And then after that, what happens after the year, the changes will be even more subtle after that.
Now, Pam Simons just told her colleagues there in the headquarters, in the congressional office, that when she was in the hospital room and someone said, "Pam is here," that Gabrielle Giffords squeezed her hand. Is that random? Is there any way to know whether that is a direct, targeted response?
I don't know what she's thinking, so I'm looking at it from a perspective of a physician, but there are certain voices that she seems to recognize more than others. So familiarity, I know that is important. So when I do some of the neurologic examinations, I don't try to do it myself because she doesn't know who I am. So I usually use voices that are more familiar to her to see what kind of response that she's going to get. So I would say, I can't say for sure what happened that particular day, but I would bet that she did have a little bit of familiarity at that time.
And just want to ask you about becoming a national figure and the amazing amount of publicity and attention. I know it makes your job harder, but has it complicated your life as we've all responded when your cell phone goes off and we hear your ringtone is staying alive?
Well, I think as far as I'm concerned, from my particular perspective, I don't have a sense of how national this thing has gotten. But, you know, I'm just a mouthpiece for the hospital and the trauma service that's working here. So the actual individual work is being done by our team. So I want to make that absolutely clear that while I may be the media figure right now, that you know, I just represent the entire team and the whole hospital.
Well, you represent them so well, you and Dr. Lamole and everyone else on your team. We just want to thank you and thank you for all of the amazing work that you and medical teams throughout this country do in trauma units unheralded. Thank you so much, Dr. Ree. And back here in Washington, of course, Vin Weber and David Bonnier, we've been watching this. This was a transforming moment, many people believe, politically, for Barack Obama. David, criticized over the last 2 years by many for being too cool and cold and not connecting. You couldn't have asked for more of a direct connection than the president at this moment the other night.
Well, he was just spectacular the other night in his sensitivity and his drawing a picture for the country of these individuals, and then, of course, asking that we honor them, particularly the 9-year-old girl, with civil discourse and doing our best to move the country forward. And he did it without, you know, raising his voice, although he did a couple times in punctuating his words, raise his voice, but in a very warm way. And he did it also, I think, this was significant. I think the president was just absolutely captured by the idea that a 9-year-old girl's life had been taken. And that, I think, we saw the emotion in him, and when he get that piece, made a huge difference in the tone of the speech.
And inevitably, there is a comparison between the president's speech and Sarah Palin's that day. She had the choice of when to speak and the tone. And one has to wonder, why doesn't she have a wider circle of advisors? I don't know any political strategist of a national campaign, Republican or Democrat, who thinks that that was a smart thing to do.
Well, we don't really know who advises her. She's quite isolated from what you might think of as the Republican establishment, and nobody's quite sure who's advising her. I think she was way off key in what she said, and the president was right on key. You know, the country, I think, after a catastrophe like this, any kind of disaster, wants a moment when you come together and heal a little bit. And they'd been denied that because of all the debate about the polarization. And the president rescued the moment, if you will, and brought the country together. And for Governor Palin to have responded the way she did at that time was just kind of prolonging the polarization and prolonging the country's sort of misery as they waited for a moment of unity.
Well, we have enough unity here, which makes us all happy on a Friday. David Bonnier and Vin Weber, after a very tough week. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
And up next, the National Journal's Major Garrett is reviving the healthcare debate, good medicine for Republicans. Plus, the big cleanup begins down under. Send me your thoughts on Twitter at Mitchell Reports. This is Andrea Mitchell Reports, only on MSNBC.
The inspiration for its shape was an archer drawing his bow. Could that have also inspired its 556 horsepower supercharged engine? The all-new Cadillac CTS-V Coupe. We don't just make luxury cars, we make Cadillacs.
She felt lost until the combination of 3 good probiotics in Phillips Colon Health defended against the bad gas, diarrhea, and constipation.
And it helped balance her colon.
Ooh, now that's the best part.
I love your work.
Phillips Colon Health.
Can I eat heart healthy without giving up taste? A man can only try. And try. And try.
Honey Nut Cheerios taste great and can help lower cholesterol.
Be happy, be healthy.
Close enough just isn't good enough. If your car is in an accident, make sure it's repaired with the right replacement parts. Take the scary out of life with Travelers. Call or click now for an agent or quote.
What if someone could guarantee me the best deal on my refinance loan or pay me $1,000? That would be nice, not getting swindled. Where are we?
Don't just think about it. Put LendingTree to the test. Get the best deal or $1,000.
Applying lip balm over and over probably isn't giving results you want. Discover Neosporin Lip Health, shown to restore visibly healthier lips in just 3 days. Neosporin Lip Health. Rethink your lip care.
The 2011 Philadelphia Auto Show kicks off on Friday, January 28th with the Black Tie Tailgate. Dine on the gourmet cuisine of Steve & Star events, dance to the hot sounds of Jelly Roll, and preview over 700 of the finest automobiles in the world. Celebrate 25 years of giving to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Proceeds benefit the Center for Autism Research. For tickets, visit phillyautoshow.com.
When people say, why Ford, we tell them Fiesta's a pretty big deal. It delivers up to 40 miles per gallon, offers exclusive hands-free sync technology, push-button start, and Fiesta comes with 7 standard airbags. Why now? Because now you can get into a brand new Fiesta for less than 13 grand. That's right, a 2011 Fiesta starting at just $12,820. That's a pretty big deal. Drive the best-selling brand in America, only at your Quality Plus Ford store.
2 years into Barack Obama's presidency, Chris Matthews examines his performance. A special hardball, Obama's America, Monday at 7 on MSNBC.
After spending a week paying tribute to the victims in Tucson, House Republicans are now getting back to the business of trying to take down the president's health care legislation. Major Garrett is congressional correspondent with the National Journal and joins us now. So do you expect any change in tactics, or are we just delaying by 1 week the vote that would have taken place this past
There'll be no change in tactics, but there'll be a definite and noticeable change in tone. Republicans understand that this will, in the eyes of some Americans, appear confrontational, possibly confrontational too rapidly after the events in Tucson.
Well, there are some Republicans like Michelle Bachmann who want it to be confrontational.
Well, and there are, I would say the fundamental feeling among House Republicans is, look, there was an act of madness, a crime, mass murder in Tucson, and why should that crime deter the policy of government or the actions of government or the actions of this new majority? Republicans believe, we said in the campaign we're going to try to repeal this health care law. We had scheduled it. We took a week off to let everyone mourn and deal and cope with this tragedy. Now we're getting back to business. What is also interesting is while this goes on, there is new Pew data yesterday that shows moderate Republicans and independent-minded Republicans have already begun to pull away from this agenda. These two things are going to collide on the House floor next week, and it's also going to set up an awkward moment after the president's speech in Tucson. When he comes to deliver the State of the Union on January 25th, he'll look down at these House Republicans who will be beaming back at him saying, we repealed your health care law, Mr. President, game on.
What do you think of these proposals to not have the wave, have the two sides sitting on opposite sides of the chamber, and these artificial moments where one side stands and the other side stands, and you've got the seesaw effect?
I mean, having once been in the television industry, I would say anything that changes the tried and true and somewhat repetitive dynamic of the State of the Union, I'm all for.
And makes it less predictable and
anything that makes it less predictable, yes, and more authentic. And look, I've often sort of, having watching Congress since 1990, wondered why this was such a rigid thing in the first place. Members mix on the floor all the time, but I don't think that's going to solve anything. Whether they do or they don't do it is not going to change the overall dynamic. And I think most Republicans abhor and what they regard as empty symbolism, and they will think of this as empty symbolism, so I don't expect it to happen.
Do you think that there will be some moments, though? Clearly the president is going to try to draw out some moments to talk about civility.
Sure.
Now that we know that he's not going to
I think it's more important even before the president's State of the Union. I think what happens next week, 7 hours of debate on this health care repeal, and you know Gabrielle Giffords' support of the health care law is going to be intertwined. Her support for it her stature, everything about her recovery.
She's fighting for her life?
Yes, is going to be intertwined with everything Democrats say about this legislation as it's being debated. And Republicans, some of them are going to get a little irked by that. And they're going to have to, for the good of their party and for the good of the future of their agenda, tone it down, because everyone is going to be watching next week in ways that simply were not true before Tucson. Much of America would have been watching, paying attention, but I think there's going to be a higher level of sifting every word, the mannerisms, the sense of tenacity and tone Republicans bring to this issue next week.
Tone is going to be critical, and missteps are noted. Thank you very much, Major Garrett.
Pleasure.
And coming up here, Michael Steele's Last Stand will head live to today's showdown at the RNC. Plus, with friends like these, Pakistan's president showing up at the White House today. This is Andrea Mitchell Reports, only on MSNBC.
Sir, finding everything okay?
I work for a different insurance company. My auto policy is just getting a little too expensive.
With Progressive, you get the Name Your Price tool. It helps you find the price that's right for you.
Oh, the price gum. I wish we had this. We just tell people what to pay.
Yeah, we're the only ones that do.
I love your insurance. Bill? Tom?
Hey, it's an office party.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive. Call or click today.
My name is Mike, and I quit smoking. I knew for years before I quit that I needed to quit, and I went online to find a way. What really excited me about Chantix, it's a non-nicotine pill. I didn't want nicotine, to give up nicotine. While you're taking the medication, for the first week, you can go ahead and smoke.
Prescription Chantix is proven to help people quit smoking.
When I was taking the Chantix, it reduced the urge to smoke.
Some people had changes in behavior, thinking or mood, hostility, agitation, depressed mood, and suicidal thoughts or actions while taking or after stopping Chantix. If you notice any of these symptoms or behaviors, stop taking Chantix and call your doctor right away. Tell your doctor about any history of depression or other mental health problems, which could get worse while taking Chantix. If you develop serious allergic or skin reactions, stop taking Chantix and see your doctor right away, as some of these can be life-threatening. Don't take Chantix if you've had a serious allergic or skin reaction to it. Dosing may be different if you have kidney problems. Until you know how Chantix affects you, use caution when driving or operating machinery. Common side effects include nausea, trouble sleeping, and unusual dreams.
It feels wonderful. I don't smoke. I don't smoke.
It's a new year, so ask your doctor about Chantix and find out how you could save money on your prescription. Go to Chantix.com to learn more and get terms and conditions.
On your marks. At Planners, living a healthy lifestyle is important. Take our annual triathlon, which I've never lost. What's my secret? Well, amazing shoes. And this. Benson. A tasty nutrition blend that helps keep the legs pumping. Maybe next year, Gary. Well, or maybe not. Remember, your shell is your temple. Planters Nutrition, specially mixed for a remarkably nutritious snack.
The smell of homemade chili.
Whatever scents fill your household, Purina Tidy Cat Scoop helps neutralize odors in multiple cat homes, keeping your house smelling like it should. Purina Tidy Cat Scoop. Keep your home smelling like home.
Client's here.
Whoa, that achy cold needs Alka-Seltzer Plus. It rushes multiple cold fighters plus a powerful pain reliever wherever you need it. Oh, what a relief it is.
Voting is underway in the race for the next Republican national chairman. Michael Steele's party is in the worst financial shape it has been in since the FEC started keeping records, and that is 35 years ago. So will Steele be shown the door? Jonathan Martin is a senior political reporter for Politico and joins us from the National Harbor, which is the site of the Republican National Committee's winter meeting. We can hear them behind you, but you're not going to drown out the negative vibes towards Michael Steele. $21 million of debt, something like that?
Right. It's at least that, Andrea. It actually could be even higher beyond, but that's what we know right now. But there are still bills that have not been paid. There's probably going to be a forensic audit done of the RNC, depending upon who becomes the new chairman. But seriously, grave financial problems here facing the GOP as they head into the 2012 election cycle.
And have you figured out, from your reporting there, who is the front runner? Is it too difficult to challenge, given that there are multiple ballots?
Indiana.
The closest thing here to a front runner, Andrea, is probably Reince Priebus, who's the GOP chairman from Wisconsin. He's going to start the balloting with somewhere probably in the low to mid 40s. You have to get 85 to win. That's a simple majority of the RNC. The key question for Priebus is, on the second and third ballot, can he grow his support so it's clear that he's got the big mo, that he is on his way? And if by that third ballot, or even perhaps the fourth ballot, he's close to 85, he can pull this off. But if he stalls out, Andrea, on those subsequent ballots, then this thing could be wide open and go for a long time this afternoon.
Now, John Boehner the other day was notably at a Maria Sino gathering, a cocktail party for her, another one of the candidates, former Bush political director. Is she the dark horse here? She's got the support of the speaker.
Maria Sino does have the support of Speaker Boehner, which has actually caused quite a buzz, and that's helped her get some more support. She had very little support on the committee until she got Boehner's endorsement. It has helped her. Her strategy, though, is, can she stay alive for those later ballots, and can she show some support from people who are backing her after their first choice goes down? She wants to be, Andrea, everybody's second choice, and it's perhaps a long shot at this point, but she's still in the game. This is a real wide open race. I mean, few people think Steele has a shot to win, but beyond that, there's real no certainty here, Andrea, today at the RNC.
And Maria Sino also has the support of Dick Cheney, Ed Gillespie, and some other Republican notables, because we should point out this is a Republican inside game. Well, is being voted on the first ballot voting going on behind you.
Nebraska.
Can you explain to me why Michael Steele didn't drop out?
It's a great question. A lot of his supporters thought he would. Some of his most ardent backers on the committee, went south on him, but he is going forward here with his candidacy. Look, I mean, I think he wants to sort of make a statement. He wants to talk about the big victories the GOP had in 2010 and sort of, say his piece. So that's all we know, at least publicly. But certainly, it looks very, very tough for him. And again, it'll be interesting to see what he gets on the first ballot. There's no rule, Andrea, here that would compel any of these folks to drop out. So if Steele or anybody else wants to, they can stay on the ballot for as long as they want. But of course, if you're the incumbent and you're dropping your numbers on every single ballot, it becomes pretty clear that the die is cast.
Well, there's always another book deal or lecture fees down the road. Who knows? Thanks so much. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Andrea.
And coming up, dialing down the rhetoric. The promise that's already being broken, plus new rain hampering rescue efforts in Brazil as the death toll tops 500, and honoring Dr. King by giving back. You're watching Andrea Mitchell Reports only on MSNBC.
Good night, gluttony. A farewell long awaited. Good night, stuffy. Good night, outdated. Good night, old luxury and all of your wares. Good night, bygones everywhere. Good morning, illumination. Good morning, innovation. Good morning, unequaled inspiration.
Ready to take advantage of trading opportunities in the Forex market? At Forex.com, trade currencies 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. Enjoy the convenience of web trading, get advanced tools with our Active Trader platform, and stay connected with Forex Trader Mobile. You'll have access to up-to-the-minute market research and analysis, and Forex specialists are standing by to help. Go to Forex.com now, open your free practice account, and start trading currencies and gold and silver risk-free. Forex.com. Are you ready?
And the card, please.
Xfinity introduces a revolutionary new way to remote control. Now you can change channels, record shows, even search on demand right on your iPad. Only from Xfinity.
Sir? It's Xfinity from Comcast.
That's a lot of HD.
The HD war is over. Xfinity has 10 times more HD than satellite. Call 1-800-XFINITY today for a great offer.
Of the United States.
Tomorrow it can form the framework for a world of law.
Tomorrow.
Asking more Americans to contribute today so that all of us can prosper tomorrow.
Let's seize this moment to start anew, to carry the dream forward.
Experience dual action power with Listerine Whitening Plus Restoring Rinse. It's the only Listerine that gets teeth 2 shades whiter and makes tooth enamel 2 times stronger. Get dual action Listerine Whitening Rinse, building whiter, stronger teeth.
Everyone has someone to go heart healthy for. Who's your someone? Campbell's Healthy Request can help. Low cholesterol, 0 grams trans fat, and a healthy level of sodium. It's amazing what soup can do.
Topping the headlines right now on Andrea Mitchell Reports, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, just back from the Persian Gulf today, says the United States and China have reached a critical juncture in their relations and must establish more effective cooperation on a range of economic and military issues.
Some in the region and some here at home see China's growth as a threat that will lead either to Cold War-style conflict or American decline. We reject those views.
Clinton's comments come ahead of next week's summit in Washington between President Obama and China's President Hu Jintao, who's here for a state visit. Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi now faces a prostitution investigation over a teenage nightclub dancer. What's next? Who attended parties at his private residence. Berlusconi denies any wrongdoing. He's already facing tax fraud and corruption charges. No state dinner for him. The Pope has approved a miracle attributed to Pope John Paul II, clearing the way for his beatification in May. Pope Benedict declared that a French nun's recovery from Parkinson's disease was indeed miraculous and due to the intercession of Pope John Paul II. The death toll is mounting in parts of Brazil, devastated by massive mudslides and flooding this week. More than 500 people have died, and officials say that number could still rise if a new round of rain hampers rescue efforts. Well, it's the first day of a colossal cleanup and recovery effort in Australia, the third largest city ravaged by massive flooding. Entire neighborhoods are still swamped, thousands of homes destroyed, at least 26 people dead. NBC's Ian Williams filed this from Brisbane.
Hello, Andrea. Across Brisbane, the floodwaters are receding and the big cleanup's getting underway. It's an enormous task. Many people returning to devastated homes with few possessions fit to salvage. Everything's covered in stinking mud, but it's easier to clean while the mud's still wet. We've seen an incredible community spirit here, everybody helping out, it seems. For one 71-year-old woman, it was the second time her home's been inundated.
It's just obliterated everything in the house.
Having lived through the 1974 flood, another man we spoke to had only moved in 3 days ago. The luck of the Irish, he called it.
Yep, we put carpets down last Thursday and Friday.
The Brisbane floods affected at least 30,000 homes across 30 low-lying suburbs and follows a month and a half of flooding across Queensland. The worst natural disaster in the state's history is how the state premiers described it. Further inland, the authorities are stepping up their search for dozens still missing, with the death toll expected to rise. The cost of cleaning up and rebuilding is estimated at $5 billion. Andrea?
And that is Ian Williams in Brisbane. President Obama is preparing to be one of the mourners, one of the eulogists, attending this afternoon's memorial service at the Kennedy Center for Ambassador Richard Holbrooke. Earlier today, the president met in the Oval Office with Pakistan's President Asif Zardari, who's in town for the memorial. Chuck Todd is NBC News' chief White House correspondent and co-host of the Daily Rundown. This is a tough week emotionally for this White House, for the administration. Richard Holbrooke is hard to describe.
Right.
You know, larger than life
That's
is
one of the phrases used a lot, and it very fitting. Yeah.
But our good friend and longtime, author, veteran journalist, crusader for journalists, Kati Martin, will be leading the mourners there. And there was an edgy relationship. No one can deny the relationship between Barack Obama and Mr. Cool, Mr. Let's Be Civil, and Richard Holbrooke, always trying to fight and push for what he believed in, aggressive infighter. It was not an easy relationship, but he was so special. There's no one that can fill that job, and no one has.
Well, he was comfortable breaking China, especially now. I think what the administration is appreciating was the fact that here was a guy, Richard Holbrooke, who obviously he did aspire to become Secretary of State someday, realized it was not going to happen, and signed up for what might have been one of the toughest jobs to sign up for in the diplomatic corps, which is somehow becoming a special envoy to this region in
the
Afghanistan.
toughest part of the world.
Absolutely. And one other thing, by the way, in the emotional White House, I don't want to, they lost a member of their own family, essentially the wife of the deputy congressional liaison. So Ashley Turton, her death, you had that this week. Tucson has been emotionally draining, particularly for a lot of folks who know Gabby Giffords, and then you throw this memorial on there. So yes, this is an emotionally spent White House.
And this is just another test for the president because of the platform that he is on. And the other thing about Holbrooke, I just want to say, is I think it's widely held, no matter how much one admired, loved, or was aggravated by him at times, there is no larger, more brilliant figure of his generation in foreign policy.
Well, and on this, here you have this tough, if you want to be charitable, puzzle to solve, this issue of Afghanistan and Pakistan. And you had somebody with his credibility, with his profile, with his stature, willing to take on this job. There is no obvious person to replace him, because, and look, it says a lot about Holbrooke that the president of Pakistan is coming. Okay, that says, that's all look, it's not clear sometimes who runs Pakistan. It's sort of nobody will say Zardari is more powerful than the general, but there certainly is a level of respect there. And I think that does tell you something about the stature he brought to this position.
Many believe that he really did deserve the Nobel Prize for Bosnia. Briefly, Bruce Reed. This is the choice, somewhat surprising choice, to replace Ron Klain as the chief of staff to the vice president. Controversial he will be with the Paul Krugmans and that wing of the party because of his support for the deficit reduction and his support for the third way.
That's right, he was involved on the but there's one other thing I want to point out here about all of these new hires, but particularly Bill Daley, Gene Sperling, Bruce Reed, all three big additions into big posts inside this West Wing.
Clintonians.
No. Campaign veterans, understanding the merging of policy and politics at a time.
Those are not mutually
exclusive. That's right. Well, I talked to one. Attributes. Well, actually, though, but in the first year and a half, the president didn't always have the most politically savvy people in some of these posts, and instead, not Rahm Emanuel, very politically savvy. I don't want to get my cell phone ring from the next mayor of Chicago. But look, Larry Summers is not a political animal. He's interested in politics, but he doesn't think that way first. And I had a Democrat outside of the White House going, boy, thank God they're putting in some people who understand what a re-elect is like and understand basically the next year and a half is going to be about.
When I say Clintonian, I'm talking about a re-election.
Veterans of that, yeah. The whole Clintonista thing, it's more about veterans of both 96.
Who won a second term?
And frankly, people that were there for 2000, where at least they fought to a draw.
Chuck, you and I could talk about this all night.
I know, we could.
And we will.
Yes.
But another time.
Yeah.
Join Chuck and Savannah Guthrie weekday mornings at 9 Eastern for the Daily Rundown on MSNBC. The president's call for more civility will be put to the test when Republicans return to the House next week, bent on repealing his signature health care law. House Republican leaders just announced that the House will begin debate on the repeal of the health care bill on Tuesday, with the first votes now scheduled for Wednesday. Charlie Cook, MSNBC political analyst and editor of the Cook Political Report, joins us now. Charlie, they're not wasting any time. They did take a week off to get through the Tucson emotions, the ups and the downs, and the great tragedy there. But we're going to be right at it again next week, and then the State of the Union.
Well, I think, yes. I mean, they're going back. Things have to move on. But I think the thing to remember is the tone of it might be somewhat different. And, if you look at it from the standpoint of what would Democrats most love to see happen, and that is that the tone from Republicans in Congress would be extreme, intolerant, that they would, come across to independent voters as if these Republicans are foaming at the mouth. I think for the Republican leaders that know that 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 would be a mistake, that know and studied what happened to Newt Gingrich and the Republican Congress in 1995, 1996. This sort of bolsters the Republican leadership's case to, hey, let's do this methodical, but let's keep the histrionics down to a minimum. And from Democrats' standpoint, I would just go ahead and let them do their repeal. It's kind of a kabuki dance. Republicans owe it to their base to pass a repeal out of the House, and everybody knows, Republicans know, it's not going to pass in the Senate, and let it just die over there, and we don't necessarily have to raise the rhetoric.
Now, if a member gets out of line, if you have a you lie moment, let's say, what you've written about that is members from safe districts are pretty insulated from blowback if they use extreme language. But in the world of the internet and 24/7 cable TV, a particularly strident statement can hurt their colleagues who might not have the luxury of representing a ruby red district.
That's right.
Pretty good political advice there.
Well, yeah, a member, and this could be Democrat or Republican, a member of Congress from one party can say something absolutely outrageous, and it reflects on his or her other party members. And this may be somebody that, that's totally anonymous to most of the country, but it reflects on all of them. And I think that Speaker Boehner and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell sort of understand that, they get that, and they say, look, we don't have to change the substance of what we're doing, but we ought to tone down on how we do it. And it's not to blame them for what the tragedy in Tucson, but the thing is, for us to move forward and get things done, the tone of the rhetoric does need to come down. These members do have to dial it back, and that should apply to both parties.
And I think that John Boehner has certainly shown that he knows this, and that is, of course, as you point out, the challenge that he faces within his own party. Charlie Cook, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's going to be an exciting week next week up there on Capitol Hill. And up next, remembering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with a day of service. And Monday, Chris Matthews will join us on the show with a preview of the Hardball special, Obama's America. It looks at the president's performance 2 years into his presidency. So don't miss the special Monday at 7 Eastern, only on MSNBC.
Obama's America is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, celebrating and rewarding responsible people with comprehensive auto and home insurance products. Responsibility, what's your policy?
An accident doesn't have to slow you down. Introducing Better Car Replacement. Available only with Liberty Mutual Auto Insurance. If your car's totaled, we give you the money for a car 1 model year newer. To learn more, visit us today. Responsibility. What's your policy?
This is the tale of Olga Ooze. Denture paste gave her the blues. Yuck! Until at last she found Seabond, a wafer that goes far beyond. Bye-bye ooze and bye-bye paste.
No ooze, no blues.
Seabond, hold happily ever after.
Stop throwing your hard-earned cash in the trash. The all-new Food Saver vacuum packaging system with Smart Seal technology could save you $2,700 a year. Don't waste food with ordinary zipper bags and plastic wrap. The Food Saver system takes air out and keeps it out, eliminating freezer burn. You can buy in economical bulk sizes, knowing the extras stay fresh up to 5 times longer. With its new upright design and hands-free operation, it has never been easier to keep your food fresh. The Food Saver system, available wherever small kitchen appliances are sold.
Client's here.
Whoa, that achy cold needs Alka-Seltzer Plus. It rushes multiple cold fighters plus a powerful pain reliever wherever you need it. Oh, what a relief it is.
I mean, really, where would we be without small businesses? We need small businesses. They're the ones that help drive growth. Like electricians, mechanics, carpenters. Who strengthen our communities. Every year, Chevron spends billions with small businesses. That goes right to the heart of local communities, providing jobs, keeping people at work. They depend on us. The economy depends on them. And we depend on them.
To my grandkids, I'm Nana. I'm friend, secret keeper, and playmate. Do you think I'd let osteoporosis slow me down? So I asked my doctor about Reclast because I heard it's the only once-a-year IV osteoporosis treatment. He told me all about it, and I said, that's the one for Nana. He said Reclast can help re-strengthen my bones to help make them resistant to fracture for 12 months.
And Reclast is approved to help protect from fracture in many places: hip, spine, even other bones.
You should not take Reclast if you're on Zometa, have low blood calcium, kidney problems, or you're pregnant, plan to become pregnant, or nursing. Take calcium and vitamin D daily. Tell your doctor if you develop severe muscle, bone, or joint pain, or if you have dental problems, as rarely jaw problems have been reported. The most common side effects include flu-like symptoms, fever, muscle or joint pain, and headache.
Share the world with the ones you love. And ask your doctor about Reclast.
Or call 1-866-51-RECLAST. Year-long protection for on-the-go women.
Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, marking the 25th anniversary of the federal holiday. Thousands of Americans are commemorating the date by volunteering. The Corporation for National and Community Service, pardon my voice, is sponsoring some 13,000 projects nationwide. Patrick Corvington is the corporation's CEO and joins us, and you can take it from there, Patrick, while I get my voice back. Tell us what you're doing, what the not only the symbolism, but the practical effect is of getting people to volunteer in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, you know, at the Corporation for National Community Service, we fundamentally believe that Martin Luther King Day ought to be a day on, not a day off. It's a time for people to turn to their communities, turn to their friends, turn to their neighbors, and make a difference. I mean, one of the best ways to honor Dr. King's legacy is to live out that call to service that he put out to the American people. And so for us, it's an opportunity to make it clear to people that one of the ways to give back is to volunteer in their communities.
And how well organized do you envision this? What is the day of service? How do you actually figure out how to get this army of volunteers out and doing things in a meaningful way?
You know, thousands of people, millions actually throughout the country are going to be volunteering in communities. So, you know, from projects in Philadelphia, Atlanta, California, communities are coming together with nonprofits, churches, and organizing their projects. One of the tools we're using is our website, mlkday.gov, where you can go enter your zip code and find volunteer opportunities around you. People are also using that site to post their volunteer opportunities, but it's really coming from the community.
You know, the whole inspiration of Martin Luther King Jr. and what he means to people then and now came to mind during the Tucson service when the president was commemorating and talking about Christina Green. Let's watch.
She saw public service as something exciting and hopeful. She was off to meet her congresswoman, someone she was sure was good and important and might be a role model. I want to live up to her expectations. I want our democracy to be as good as Christina imagined it. I want America to be as good as she imagined it.
You know, after years and years of hearing people belittle and even stigmatize public service, it was so inspiring to many people to hear the way the president framed that. And it reminds one of Martin Luther King said this: "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter."
That's exactly right. That's a beautiful quote. You know, another really important quote of Dr. King's is the question he posed when he said, "Life's most persistent and urgent challenge is, what are we doing for others?" And I think it's exemplified through public servants. It's exemplified through volunteers. The people who in communities are solving problems every day, you know, and there's small things and big things. You know, Dr. King led a global movement, but I think what we want people to do is to look around them and help. Look to a neighbor in need, help an elderly person across the street, a military family in your community. It is those small acts that matter, these ordinary acts of everyday citizens that make this country extraordinary.
I'm thinking of some of the people who we lost in Tucson, the young man, you know, who worked as a community outreach organizer for Congresswoman Giffords. But then those moments of people anonymously, some, as we saw today with Pam Simon, never coming back to take credit for having saved her life, and others, the modesty and humility of Daniel Hernandez.
You know,
it's breathtaking.
It's absolutely breathtaking. I mean, he is such an amazing young man, as are all those people. You know, it is those kinds of behaviors that are quintessentially American. This notion of turning to one's neighbors, our friends, and helping strangers. I mean, it is this notion of our humanity that's expressed through Dr. King, this ability to be empathic, to feel for our fellow citizens. That's what Dr. King spoke to. And I think that is what the spirit of making it a day on versus a day off is all about. It's living up to that legacy by ensuring that making sure that we're giving back to the people around us.
Well, it's a privilege to meet you and have you on, and I know you're going to be in Atlanta doing your own service, and thank you for the inspiration you give to people young and old.
Thank you, Andrea.
Patrick
Appreciate it
Covington.
very much.
And on Monday, thegrio.com will be commemorating the King holiday by spotlighting the 25 most influential African-American leaders in U.S. history. Check it out Monday at thegrio.com. The first round of voting at the Republican National Committee is over, with Wisconsin Reince Priebus getting the most votes with 45, just one more than Michael Steele received. Steele doing better than we thought. We'll be live at the RNC meetings with Chris Salissa coming up next on Andrea Mitchell Reports, only on MSNBC.
Welcome on board, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for traveling with us. For your convenience, you can find 4 exits, 2 at the front and 2 at the back. Enjoy your drive and have a nice day.
Introducing the bigger 4-door Mini Countryman.
When I was 16, I was hired as a cashier at the Walmart in Marinette, Wisconsin. That first job launched my career. Since I've been with the company, I've been promoted 10 times over the span of 11 years. Today, I'm a divisional learning and development manager. We can actually help people develop in their own careers. My job allows me to make a difference in the lives of almost 100,000 associates in the Northeast. If you think about it, it's almost 8 times the size of my hometown. My name is Nick, and I work at Walmart.
Applying lip balm over and over probably isn't giving results you want. Discover Neosporin Lip Health, shown to restore visibly healthier lips in just 3 days. Neosporin Lip Health. Rethink your lip care.
Can getting enough vegetables make you feel good? Oh, yeah. V8 Juice gives you 3 of your 5 daily servings of vegetables. V8, what's your number?
Introducing the bigger 4-door all-wheel drive Mini Countryman.
I think it was the Sunday style that brought us together.
I think it was the weekend review. Getting the times delivered for me, well, that's really the best part of the weekend. That's why I love the Weekender.
It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday subscription that puts you in the center of the conversation.
The depth and breadth of reporting, the insight.
Call the 800 number and you save 50%.
Just $5.20 a week delivers the world to your home.
It's the best deal around. How many sections are you fluent in?
I'm fluent in 3 sections, actually. Business, travel, the book review.
Sunday styles.
You call the toll-free number and you save 50%.
He likes a deal.
I do.
I just went to Spain and the travel section helped me plan my trip. So you call the 800 number and you save 50%.
50% off home delivery? Fantastic.
The best journalists in the world work for the Times, and there's no debating that.
So call now. Get the conversation going.
Get the Weekender for as low as $5.20 a week. Call 1-800-861-2760 and be part of a great conversation.
I'll trade you the magazine for the book review.
Deal.
At this defining moment, change has come to America.
2 years into Barack Obama's presidency, has he delivered on his promise of change? Chris Matthews examines the president's performance, where he fell short.
I'm exhausted of defending you and defending the mantle of change that I voted for.
And how the president's recent victories in Congress can help him move the nation forward.
Now it is my honor to sign this bill into law.
A special edition of Hardball, Obama's America, Monday at 7 on MSNBC.
And which political story will be making headlines in the next 24 hours? MSNBC contributor and managing editor of postpolitics.com, Chris Salissa, joining us. Not even in the next 24 hours, in the next few hours. Chris, it's all happening right behind you there at the RNC.
Andrea, it's more like the next 2 to 4 hours today. I think that's probably roughly how long we're going to be there. You read just before the break the first of what I think is going to be many ballots, but Reince Priebus, the Wisconsin Republican Party chairman, finishing on top, 45. Michael Steele, the current incumbent, 44. And the surprise, actually, a former Republican National Committee sort of operative type, a woman who's worked in the committee, a woman named Maria Sino, 32, finishing third, much higher than we thought. Look, this is Steele's high point. We expect him to go down in future ballots. Going into this, we didn't expect him to win. The story now is, where do his votes go? And that's what we're going to be following.
And let's talk about Who had the worst week in Washington? Is there any contest there?
Andrea, it was. Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes this, I do this every week for the Post. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's not. This would be in the latter category. Look, Sarah Palin came out on the Wednesday of that big memorial in Tucson. We knew the focus was going to be on President Obama. She wanted to get into that conversation. She wanted to dominate a slow news day. She did, but not certainly in the way that she wanted to. She had a 1,141-word statement on Facebook. 2 words, blood libel, wound up dominating it, turning her into what looked more like a talk radio show host than a serious political candidate. She's always kind of right on the edge of that, Andrea, tilting one way or the other. She tilted toward talk radio, and I don't think a talk radio show host or someone who espouses that kind of thinking and rhetoric is going to wind up being the party's nominee. I could be wrong. Look, the 2010 election was very, very unpredictable. This one in 2012 could be too, but I don't think she did herself any favors with people who had doubts about her, even within her own party this week.
And people who felt that she really had the moral high ground because she had been unfairly criticized, many of those people also, the political insiders at least, who are very critical to her campaigns, feel that she abandoned the moral high ground, that she lost an opportunity, both in the timing and the tone of what she said, and of course those words. The other point is, it underscored for the professionals in the party that she still needs better advice.
Yes, Andrea, you said opportunity. I think that's the key word. Clearly, I think most people agreed she'd been unfairly maligned in the days after the shooting, and she had that opportunity to say, you know what, I don't think this has been fair, but this isn't about me. This is about the people in Tucson, and this is about finding a way for Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals, to talk nicer to one another, figure out a way to make political discourse more civil. Instead, she issued a largely defensive statement, and again, those 2 words, blood libel, overshadowed a lot of good sentiments in that statement. If you go through and read that whole statement, there's some good in there for her, and it just got overshadowed.
Chris Salissa, you'll be right on top of everything down there at the RNC. Thank you very much, and that does it for us for this edition of Andrea Mitchell Reports. Remember to follow the show online and on Twitter at Mitchell Reports. Have a great weekend. My colleague, Tamron Hall, has a look at what's next on News Nation. Hi, Tamron.
Hey there, Andrea. In our next hour, we'll also have an update on the RNC and whether Michael Steele is still the one. And we'll get you an update out of Tucson, the latest on Congresswoman Gabby Gifford's progress. Her doctors remain impressed with her recovery. Also, the latest on Judge Roll, who was laid to rest today. And a JetBlue pilot literally loses his bag, not his lunch, his bag, and it's caused 2 flight delays and a whole lot of controversy. There was a handgun in the bag. The pilot is now under investigation. He was authorized to carry the gun, but how in the heck did he lose it? News Nation starts in 3 minutes.